Rommel's armor forces in Egypt and helped to turn El Alamein into a decisive Allied victory. From the sands of the Sahara to Guadalcanal, the Battle of the Bulge, the liberation of Italy and Germany, the Jeep showed it could get the job done. High-ranking civilians eroded them when they came to see the troops. King George, Queen Elizabeth, and Franklin Roosevelt became fans when they visited the front. The Jeep's fame spread when Hollywood's elites were enlisted for war bond duties. More than 1 million were built during the war. General Marshall called it the greatest contribution to modern warfare. After the war, Willis decided to build a civilian version. They called the new vehicle the CJ, or Civilian Jeep. Though similar to its combat cousin, it had some new features like powered windshield wipers, softer springs, and a choice of more colors than olive, drab, green. There were special versions for farmers and others who needed a heavy-duty workhorse. It could handle many tasks. Willys broadened its range when it introduced an all-steel bodied Jeep wagon. This ancestor of the modern SUV could haul 7 people. It was a bit sluggish with a top speed of only 65 miles per hour, but it set the stage for things to come. It was advertised as the common-sense car that leads a double life. In 1949, Willys beefed it up by adding 4-wheel drive and a 6-cylinder engine. This allowed it to go just about anywhere. People who wanted to explore the back roads or whose jobs took them off the highways liked the new wagons. However, the average buyer wanted more amenities. A few decades ahead of its time, the Jeep was still evolving into the ultimate recreational vehicle. For the time being, it was consigned to be a workhorse and delivery wagon. Instead of just using the Jeep name, Willys stamped its logo on these vehicles as part of its fight with Bantam. Bantam was in litigation over the origin of the Jeep trade name before the Federal Trade Commission. Willys finally won the right to use the Jeep name on its products and created a brand that had lasting value. Without a war to worry about, and with the economy booming, people were looking to have some fun. A young stylist, Brooks Stevens, had something for them, the Jeepster. This 2-door roadster had some upper-class pretensions. They called it a sport phaeton. While it was sporty, it wasn't really in the same league as the flashy cars of which playboys were verdicts. Marketing chutzpah aside, Stevens had created a lovely and fun new vehicle. Unfortunately, not enough people were taken with the Jeepster at the time. Today, one in excellent condition can bring almost $20,000. Willys couldn't crack the suburban market, but he had a good feel for drivers needing rugged vehicles. It was a workforce that appealed to anyone who needed to handle oversized tasks. Its reputation kept growing. The Jeep hadn't been completely snubbed by the urban elite. In 1951, the Museum of Modern Art called it one of the world's automotive masterpieces. Museum officials said, although it looks like a sardine can on wheels, it has the combined appeal of an intelligent dog and a perfect head. When the Korean War broke out, the Jeep was back in action. Stars like Marilyn Monroe liked posing it when they visited the troops. The name Willys-O'Land had become famous, but in 1953, a new owner took over, Henry Kaiser. Kaiser became rich building Liberty ships during World War II. After the war, he turned his attention to automobile manufacturing and eventually healthcare. In 1953, shortly after Kaiser took over, one of the most popular four-wheel drive vehicle models ever produced was launched, the CJ5. This was continually improved with more power, better transmissions, comfort and styling, until it was replaced with a new model in 1983. Kaiser poured money into research and engineering to broaden the reach of the four-wheel drive market. He opened plants in 30 countries and sold Jeeps around the world. This growth set the stage for the 1960s boom in recreational off-roading. Americans were looking for ways to get out and explore the world. Families jumped onto the Jeep bandwagon and headed for the hills. Off-roading gave them a way to see things they'd never seen before. It was a chance to get back to nature and have fun. Kaiser had some ideas about how to serve these adventures. In the fall of 1962, he introduced a breakthrough vehicle, the Wagoneer. This was a completely redesigned station wagon that came in either two or four-wheel drive. It was perfect for taking a big family on an outing or for hauling stuff around town. Many consider the introduction of the Wagoneer to be the real birth of the sport utility vehicle. It was the company's first all-new civilian sport use. It even offered an automatic transmission. At first, for any four-wheel drive vehicle. At the same time, the company's name was changed from Willys to the Kaiser Jeep Corporation. Jeep was the one to beat. Others scrambled to serve this market. International Harvester introduced its 4x4, the Scout. Ford launched the Bronco in August of 1965. This compact 4x4 has earned a cult-like following among four-wheel drive and collector car enthusiasts. The competition wasn't just from the United States. Toyota's Land Cruiser was also transformed from a bare-bones backroads vehicle into a larger, more family-friendly competitor. In the 80s, when Land Rover arrived with its posh Range Rover, it was clear that luxury couldn't be ignored. These expensive alternatives sent a signal that the Jeep had to change. The Wagoneer was no longer the leader, but Kaiser didn't have the money to transform Jeep. In February of 1970, American Motors, builders of the Gremlin and Pacer, purchased the Kaiser Jeep Corporation with a combination of cash, stock, and notes totaling $70 million. Several films